This session, I'm going to take you on a journey around the world along progressive organizations that we've been researching that have radically reinvented their ways of working. You talked about hacking bureaucracy as a theme for the day. We have looked and researched organizations in depth on how they've been able to do that. Doing away with all the frustrating ways of working that so many organizations are still struggling with today. So we set out to visit pioneering organizations around the world, and we've been doing that for more than 7 years now, almost 8 years, visiting more than 150 of these organizations that work in a radically different way compared to what most people are used to. So companies that have ditched bureaucracies, that have completely demolished their hierarchies, and have given instead people the freedom and the entrepreneurship to make their own decisions, and actually create an environment where people excel and become truly passionate about the work and their work environments. So, visiting over 150 organizations, I need to tell you one important thing. When we talk about new ways of working or more progressive ways of working, a lot of people tend to look at Silicon Valley. And we look at all these startups that people cannot stop talking about. But I can tell you there are much more interesting examples in much more boring sectors that are doing much more interesting things when it comes to reinventing how they work. All kinds of ways of working were challenged because the pandemic forced us to think differently about work. 2020, we also launched an online learning platform for companies around the world to come together, to learn from each other, and understand how to make work more fun. And then in 21, we launched an investment fund called Chrysos, and through that fund, we buy traditionally organized companies and then transform them into a radically progressive organization, showing that it's both interesting from a human perspective, but also from a financial perspective, to turn companies around and to completely reinvent how they work. Now I want to dive very briefly into the main trends that we've been seeing from these visits to 150 plus pioneering organizations. It is important to understand that this is not a model. It's not something every organization needs to implement. A lot of customization is important, and people need to understand that every organization is different. All people in those organizations are different, so it's about jointly figuring out with your people what is the best way forward for us and how can we actually improve the way we work together. So I'm going to go through them, share some practical examples of how companies put them into practice, and I'm starting with the first one, which is a move from profit to purpose and values. And I know here in the US, this may be a bit more radical than it is where we are from in Europe, where, of course, the idea of shareholder primacy is still much more alive than it is in other places around the world. But for these pioneering companies, making money is not the most important reason they exist. They actually exist to contribute to something more valuable than just that. So they have a clear purpose, they have a clear set of values, and they use the profit to get closer to that purpose. But existing as an organization is not or making profit is not why these organizations exist. Patagonia, of course, is one of the examples that come to a lot of people's minds when it's about a purpose-driven organization that uses its money to actually get closer to their purpose. The second one is a move from hierarchical pyramids to a network of teams. So how can you break down the hierarchical structure, especially for bigger companies where on average they have 8 or 9 layers of hierarchy? And how can you instead form into a network of team structure, where you break down the hierarchy to just 2 or 3 layers, with senior leadership mostly still setting the direction of the company, but then allowing this network of teams to make their own decisions and to become highly entrepreneurial. The third trend is a move from directive leadership to supportive leadership. So how can you get away from the idea that bosses are the ones who know everything best and are always the ones who make important decisions? And how can you instead create an environment where leaders are supporting their teams to excel? The fourth one is from planning and predicting to experimenting and adapting. Constantly trying new things makes much more sense in a complex environment than trying to predict what will happen the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. That's why these companies focus on constantly experimenting with products, services, and ways of working. The fifth one is a move from rules and control and thick bureaucracy to freedom and trust. as human beings, we have a lot of freedom outside of work. Buying a house, raising our children, organizing things with our communities. And we love this responsibility and we love this freedom. But then we come into the workplace, and in many cases, we're not allowed to spend $500 of company money before we get 5 signatures. This doesn't make any sense. So we're not tapping into that creativity that people love and care about in the workplace. The 6th one is a move from centralized authority to distributed authority. So how can you push decision-making as far to the front line as possible? So people in close contact with customers and suppliers are actually the ones who are making decisions, not the people who are hidden away in their fancy corner offices and who are far removed from what the customers are actually wanting. The 7th one is a move from secrecy to radical transparency. So how can you open up all kinds of information in the company so that people can make the best decisions? For example, opening up company financials for everyone to see, opening up salaries so everyone can see what other people in the organization are earning. A lot of companies go pretty far in this and allow their people to understand everything that's happening in the company so they can actually make the best decisions for the company as well. And then the final one is a move from job descriptions to talents and mastery. So how can you get away from the idea that you can detail what a person will be working on every single day, and instead, how can you focus on the talents of people and then give them the opportunity to create their own ideal job by picking up various roles that fit their unique and individual talents. So that's a very, very brief summary of what these progressive organizations do different than the more traditional ones. Now let me dive into an example. The first example I want to share is a company called Haier. You might be familiar with them. They make refrigerators, washing machines, all kinds of white goods. Nowadays a lot more. It's a Chinese company, a big Chinese company. They're the largest white goods manufacturer in the world. And a bit closer to your home, a few years ago, in 2017, they acquired General Electric Appliances and have also been reinventing that organization since they acquired it. But let's look at China first. So what they have been doing there is pretty remarkable. And the CEO, Zhang Rumin, has been leading that transformation into a completely different organizational structure. And it shows a lot of the 8 trends that I've just been talking about. The reason they wanted to change is because they felt the burden of bureaucracy. People were disengaged. People were not taking any entrepreneurial decisions. Everybody was scared to try something new, to experiment, because they knew they would be punished for doing anything that was outside of their job description. So there was not much innovation. People weren't listening to what the customer actually wanted. The organization became too slow. A lot of things that people struggle with every single day in organizations around the world. But at Haier, they said, we need to change this. We need to reinvent ourselves to be successful in the future, to attract new people, to make sure that we can actually move as quickly as our customers need us to move. So they started on this transformation, and what they ended up in is now an 80,000 employee organization that's spread into more than 4,000 what they call micro enterprises. So small companies that act as if they are a completely separate legal entity. So they have their own P&L, and they have a lot of decision-making power and authority to make their own decisions, and they work as if it's a huge network of startups and smaller companies that in many cases need to collaborate with each other and form partnerships to deliver products and services to customers that they cannot deliver only by themselves. On average, these microenterprises have 10 to 15 employees and have a lot of decision-making power that we'll dive into in a little bit, that shows you how much authority these microenterprises actually have. Since that transformation, you can see the numbers here, both profit and revenue have increased quite dramatically since implementing this model. But I think the most interesting one is that they've been able to create a lot of new value because of the entrepreneurial ideas that popped up in the organization, and because they provided a platform for employees to actually become entrepreneurs. They have been able to go off into all kinds of industries, come up with all kinds of new products and services that would never have happened if they were still organized in a more traditional way. So, very briefly looking at these micro enterprises and zooming into them a little bit, They have 3 crucial rights that more traditional teams and organizations don't have. The first one is on strategy. And these micro-enterprises have the opportunity to decide for themselves which business model to implement, so how to make their money, which partnerships to form both with internal micro-enterprises or external companies, and which opportunities in the market to pursue. Secondly, they have a lot of freedom when it comes to people decisions. They are the ones responsible for hiring and firing, not the HR department. It's the teams, the micro-enterprise themselves, who can do it. They have also the power to distribute roles and responsibilities within the team, focusing on the main talents in their team and making sure that the jobs are picked up by the people with the most talent and interest in that specific area. And there's also leadership selection. So if people feel that the leader of their micro-enterprise is underperforming, they can put that person out of their position and replace them with someone they think is a better leader for their team. So a much more democratic system compared to the more dictatorial system that many traditional organizations still have in place. And then the final one, there's also a lot of authority around reward distribution. So for example, they can distribute shares in their micro-enterprise, so they're really seen as separate legal entities where people can benefit from the success of their micro-enterprise by getting a profit share. They have bonus payments as well if those micro-enterprises succeed, and they can even determine themselves what the salary levels are of each individual working in that micro-enterprise. So it sounds pretty radical, it is pretty radical, but it's not that different from what many small companies are doing in startup environments, for example, where they also have to collaborate, make these kinds of decisions themselves to make sure they are successful as a team or as a business. But the interesting thing about Hire, they've done it on a massive scale inside their organization, creating this platform for entrepreneurship for people to work in a completely different way.